Hello folks, well, the day that Jose Canseco is murdered, is going to be, I think, for the killer, for the guy that murders Jose Canseco, is going to be similar like the O.J. Simpson case of 1995. The day that Jose Canseco gets murdered, for some of you that you might know about it, that's telling you to defend O.J. Simpson, is going to be similar to the George Zimmerman trial, when George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin. Why? I could tell you one of these things that Jose Canseco was murdered. When Jose Canseco gets murdered, when somebody kills Jose Canseco, might probably that his funeral will be the most televised of any celebrity, more televised than Michael Jackson, if Jose Canseco becomes the manager of the People's Republic baseball team and bashes Japan, that Japan used steroids and China doesn't. Well, if Jose Canseco gets murdered, then there'll be the day that if it's not, then there'll be the day that Alex Rodriguez marries a Bush. I'm talking about a Bush, and that Alex Rodriguez say something about Jose Canseco, that something uses steroids, something that Jose Canseco goes out and kill him, and his wife, if he marries a Bush, protects them. He'll be in there, and he gets away with murder if Alex Rodriguez gets away with murder for killing Jose Canseco, that's one thing. If the day Jose Canseco gets murdered, if Jose Canseco still coaches the Chinese baseball team for the next World Baseball Classic, when he gets murdered, that'll be the day that his book Juiced will be the world's #1 bestseller, and most of the sales will be in China. Well, the day that Jose Canseco gets murdered, there'll be another LA riot. If Jose Canseco, being the manager of the Korean baseball team for the World Baseball Classic, coaches the South Korean baseball team, and bashes Japan, saying the same thing, that Japanese baseball players use steroids. Somebody kills him, and there'll be the Korea Town riot in LA, the Korea Town Riots. Yeah, because the guy that murders Jose Canseco gets away with murder. Yeah, if it's not Alex Rodriguez, in that case, the day that Jose Canseco gets murdered, then I know it would be done by a Japanese person. If Jose Canseco coaches either the Team China, the People's Republic of China, or Team South Korea for the World Baseball Classic, and saying that the Japanese use steroids, that's what Jose Canseco will do. What he does is, the guy that murders him, be in court. There'll be judges. It'll be similar like the O.J. Simpson murder trial from 1995. When I don't know if Ronald Goldman was seeing Ronald Goldman's father seeing this, that the same thing as the O.J. Simpson case of 1995. The man that murders Jose Canseco gets a murder trial, and he gets away with murder. And the bodyguard goes to jail. Similar to the George Zimmerman trial. George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin, gets away with murder. Yeah, but anyway, that's how it's going to be. That's how it's going to be. Do I want to root for the guy that murders Jose Canseco? Well, I don't know if it's Alex Rodriguez married to a Bush. Maybe I might just root for that, for the Yankees, if Alex Rodriguez marries the daughter of the former president and kills Jose Canseco and gets away with murder. Or that's just kind of tricky. But then if it's just this, if it's just the case that Jose Canseco gets murdered, the case that Jose Canseco gets murdered, if he coaches the Chinese baseball team, the People's Republic baseball team, and says that the Chinese are very, very talented baseball players and clean, and the Japanese don't use steroids, then I wouldn't say where I'm gonna go. Do I'm gonna favor the murderer, or do I wanna favor Jose Canseco? And his bodyguard might go to jail for killing Jose Canseco for a crime he didn't commit. Then I would say just let it flow. And the same thing, what if Jose Canseco coaches the South Korean baseball team, saying that South Korea are super talented, clean, and they say that the Japanese won the World Baseball Classic tainted? Then the guy that murders Jose Canseco, gets away. Is going to be like similar to the O.J. Simpson murder trial of 1995, similar to the case of Trayvon Martin. I mean, to the case of George Zimmerman when he killed Trayvon Martin. George Zimmerman get out of jail. Well, in that case, I might say, if my opinion, I might say, I'm gonna root for the murderer, or do I want to root for, or no? Look, I am not going to favor Jose Canseco because he talks shit. But I'm not gonna even favor the guy that murders him because, yeah, he gets away with jail. Gets away from jail. He gets away with murder. He get away with murder. The bodyguard goes to jail, and they say they blame the bodyguard. The bodyguard seems to kill Jose Canseco. And what I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna favor the murderer, but I might just say that the murderer the guy that murders him was telling the truth. He would say that Jose Canseco is a liar, that he blasphemized the Japanese baseball team for using steroids. I believe him. Jose Canseco blasphemized that all baseball players use steroids. All of them in the Major League Baseball. What else the case may be if Jose Canseco coaches either China or Korea and talks shit about Japan using steroids. Japan's baseball team, that's right. Well, I might say I'm not favoring the guy for getting away with murder, but I believe his word. I'm not favoring Jose Canseco because he's full of shit. That's right. Jose Canseco is full of shit. He talks a lot of bullshit. Well, one thing for sure, that what I'm gonna do, let it flow. I'm not gonna go favoring Jose Canseco or favoring the murderer. I'm not gonna favor a guy that talks a lot of shit, or I'm not gonna favor the guy that kills the guy that talks a lot of shit. That means that the guy in Japan might be This guy never killed Jose Canseco, and the bodyguard is gonna be relented to be as the guy that murders him. A guy that is non-Japanese. Could be a white guy that's going to jail. So, well, what do I do with this kind of case of this kind of incident? If I were the Japanese guy that murders Jose Canseco, if he coaches for example, the South Korean baseball team, and then I got pissed off, if I was a Japanese guy and says, oh, look, Japan doesn't use steroids, and murders him, you know what it is? I'll feel the same way like back in 1995 when O.J. Simpson murdered Ronald Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. I'll feel the same way as George Zimmerman when George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin. That's how I feel if I was the Japanese guy that murders Jose Canseco, if Jose Canseco coaches the Korean baseball team and talks shit about Japan. That's it. That is the reason why. That is the reason why I might say, well, but I'm not him. I'm not saying that. But Jose Canseco is digging a hole for himself. Let it be K-Town riots. Let it be another Korea Town LA Riots if Jose Canseco gets murdered by a Japanese guy and the Japanese guy gets away with murder. So, let it be there. I don't want to deal with this kind of shit. So, I mean, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You know what? Let it be things to be the right way. You know, I don't favor this, but make it the right way. The perfect solution if Jose Canseco gets murdered, if it's by the Chinese baseball team, if he coaches, then his funeral will be the most televised. His book Juice will be the #1 bestseller, and the guy who is Japanese that kills him gets away with murder. That's it. If it's the South Korean baseball team, have Korea Town LA Riots. Have it that way. Let the guy that murders him, who is a Japanese guy, gets away with murder. The trial will be similar as the O.J. Simpson case of 1995 or the George Zimmerman trial when George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin. That means if Jose Canseco, soon to be manager of the Korean baseball team, and blasphemize about Japan, that Japan used steroids, the Japanese guy kills him, the Japanese guy is George Zimmerman, and Jose Canseco is Trayvon Martin. That's it. And the guy who is the bodyguard goes to jail for murdering Jose Canseco. I mean, that's the way it has to go. It has to go that way because I believe it is to let it be like that. I'm not gonna get involved. I don't want the guy to say to him, you know, that means in a way that doesn't mean that if it's a Japanese guy that kills Jose Canseco because Jose Canseco talks shit about the Japanese baseball team, saying that the Japanese baseball team uses steroids and supports the Korean baseball team, well, I'm not saying, I'm not going to favor that, but just let it be like that. Let the guy that murders him gets away with murder. The bodyguard, who is non-Japanese, goes to jail. That's how it has to go. The guy who's non-Japanese will be Kato Kalin. The guy that murders him is O.J. Simpson. And Jose Canseco will be in the same shoes as Ronald Goldman. You know, that's how it is. Let it be like that. The time that Jose Canseco gets murdered, if he coaches the South Korean baseball team, talks shit that Japan baseball team WBC titles were all tainted by using steroids, the Japanese guy murders him. The Japanese guy is George Zimmerman, and Jose Canseco is Trayvon Martin. Let it be like that. That's it. That's it, folks. That's what I think what will happen when the day Jose Canseco gets murdered.